Good morning all. Today we are discussing fungi Puccinia. Puccinia belongs to subdivision Basidiomycotina, which belongs to family Pucciniaceae. It is commonly called rust fungus because it causes rusty patches on the stem and the leaves of host plant. എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ തുരുമ്പ് പോലത്തെ പാച്ചസ് സ്റ്റെമ്മിലും ലീഫിലുമൊക്കെ കാണപ്പെടും. They are obligate parasite, that is they are capable of living only on living host. They are capable of surviving only on living host. They are either audacious or heterogeneous. Audacious meaning they complete their entire life cycle on a single host plant. Heterogeneous meaning they can complete their life cycle on two different hosts. This species of fungi, they attack many crop plants, especially cereals, millets, etc., and cause heavy financial loss to farmers. Now, the genus we are discussing is Puccinia grammis. It causes black stem rust on wheat. It is a heterogeneous form, meaning it has two host plants. One is the wheat plant, the other one is the barberry plant. The dikaryophase or the diploid phase is completed on the wheat plant, and the haplophase is completed on the barberry plant. The dikaryotic mycelium, it is unable to grow on the barberry plant, and the haplophase mycelium is unable to grow on the wheat plant. So if in order for the completion of the life cycle, two hosts must be present. Wheat is the primary host and barberry is the alternative host. Okay, so Puccinia is a heterogeneous fungi. It has two host plants. What are they? Wheat and barberry. Okay, wheat is the primary host, isn't it? So their life cycle starts with acidiospores, which are binucleate spores. These acidiospores, they are produced on the lower side of the barberry leaf in specialized structures called acidial cup. Okay, these spores, these acidiospores, they get dispersed and they fall on the wheat plant, and when they fall on the wheat plant, they germinate. After germinating, they put forth a germ tube or a primary hypha, and they enter into the tissue of the wheat plant through the stomata. And inside the tissue of the wheat plant, they develop mycelium, which are branched, septate, and binucleate mycelium, and it covers the entire intercellular spaces of the host tissue. Now, the mycelia produces hostoria to absorb the nutrition, and the mycelia produce two types of spores. What are they? Uridospores and telutospores. These spores are produced on the surface of the host tissue on specialized structures called sori. The uridospores are produced on uridial sori, and telutospores are produced on telutosori. So, from the binucleate mycelium or the binucleate spores, acidiospores, which fall on the wheat plant, binucleate branched septate mycelium occurs, and this mycelia, it produces how many kind of spores? Two kind of spores. What are they? Uridospores and telutospores. Okay, in specialized structures called uridosori and telutosori. Now first we'll see what is uridial stage or the uridospores. The dikaryotic mycelium first forms the uridosori, which it forms the first form sori is uridosori. The mycelia, it aggregate to form hyphal mass near the surface of the infected leaf, and the hyphal mass is surrounded by the host tissue, and this is called the uridia. From the uridium arises number of uridospores. The uridospores consist of a long stalk, and at the end of the stalk there is a binucleate oval round spore. The outer surface of the spore is vrati. Vrati means it has spine-like structures. It has 4 equatorial germ pores. 4 സുഷിരങ്ങൾ ഉണ്ടാവും ആ റൗണ്ട് സ്പോറിൻ്റെ ചുറ്റിനും. 4 equatorial germ pores. When large number of spores are formed, their stalk elongate and they will crack open the host epidermis and expose the uridospores. These uridospores are liberated by wind or other agents and it is carried to the other host plant, that is the wheat plant itself. Uridospores germinate only on the wheat plant. Okay, so which is the first spore? The uridospore. uh, okay, this is the picture of a wheat stem. We can see that orange stem rust occurs, and then we can see uridosaurus, and inside the uridosaurii we can see the uridospores. We can see the structure of uridospores. When if you just have a closer look, we can see that it is oval in shape with the binucleate spores. Okay, so under unfavorable conditions, the uridospores, they germinate by putting out a germ tube. This germ tube, it has a swelling called the appressorium. This appressorium, they are formed from the infected hyphae, and they enter into the stomatal aperture of the host tissue, and then it produces the hostoria. It absorbs the nutrients, and it produces more and more of this reddish brown pustules on the leaf and stem, and called the uridosauri. Therefore uridosauri can form both primary and secondary infection on the wheat plant. The uridal stage is called the red stage or the summer stage because these spores are formed during the summer season, and also because it is red in color, it is called reddish brown in color, it is called the red stage. Okay, now the next stage is the teleal stage. In the growing season, the sores that are produced on the uridospores produce another type of spore called the telutosauri. That is during the favorable season. So these uridosaurus, which were reddish brown in color, it is replaced by black stage or the winter stage. At first the telutospores are produced among the uridospores. Later the uridospores are completely replaced by telutospores, and now the sora is called telutosauri. The telutospores are two-celled. Uridospore was single-celled with the binucleate, but here telutospores are two-celled. They are dark brown to black in color, and their shape is oblong to clavate shaped. ഇച്ചിരി നീണ്ടതും ക്ലാവേറ്റ് ഷേപ്പിലുള്ള സ്പോസ് ആയിരിക്കും. ഇറ്റ് ഹാസ് തിക്ക് സ്മൂത്ത് വോൾ, വളരെ തിക്കായിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു ഔട്ടർ വോളും അതേപോലെ സ്മൂത്ത് ആയിട്ടുള്ള വോളുമായിരിക്കും. Okay, these spores are attached to a long stalk similar to that of the uridospores. Each telutospore, that is we said they are two-celled. അപ്പോൾ ഒരു സെല്ലിനകത്ത് how many nuclei are present? Two nuclei are present, and there is single germ pore for each cell. In the upper cell, the germ pore will be at the apex, and in the lower cell the germ pore will be towards one side of the cross wall. Okay, so this is the second stage. What is the second stage called as? It is called as the teleal stage, and it is formed inside. First it forms inside this uridosauri. Later it develops into telutospore completely and forms oblong and clavate shaped spore. Okay, and each spore is binucleate structures. Okay, binucleate structures. Okay, you have understood. So just rewind what we learned about the uridospore and telutospores. Now, let us just see what is the diagram or the structure of the teleutospore. Well, as I mentioned earlier, you can see that the spore is clavate shaped. അല്ലേ ഒരു ത്രികോണാകൃതിയിലാണ് സ്പോർ ഉള്ളത്. And it is also having a thick outer covering. The teleutospore usually undergo a period of rest and then they carry the fungus to the next growing season. Okay, each teleutospore we know it has two nuclei and a germ pore. These two nuclei they fuse with each other to form the diploid nucleus. This represents the diploid phase. Okay, and this diploid nucleus can tide over the winter condition, the unfavorable winter condition. Now, when the favorable conditions come back or return, these diploid teleutospore they germinate to produce a promycelium which comes out of the germ pore. This promycelium it divide meiotically. Okay, meiotic division take place. That means the diploid structure now becomes haploid. Meiotically they divide to form 4 haploid nuclei which are separated from each other by cross walls. Okay, and this 4-celled structure is called the basidium. So we are coming to the third stage. What is the third stage called? The third stage is called basidial stage, and this basidial stage occurs from the teleutospores. So the binucleated spore of the teleutospore they fuse to form diploid nucleus which give rise to the basidium. Now here we can see how a basidium or a promycelium arises from the teleutospore, and the 4-celled ഒരു നീണ്ട ഒരു സ്ട്രക്ചർ കണ്ടല്ലോ, ആ നീണ്ട 4-celled സ്ട്രക്ചറാണ് ബസീഡിയം എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. ആ ബസീഡിയത്തിൻ്റെ അറ്റത്താണ് എന്തുള്ളത്? ഒരു ബസിഡിയോസ്പോർ ഉള്ളത്. ഈച്ച് ഓഫ് ദ 4 cell they produce a short and narrow tube called the sterigma. ഈ ബസിഡിയോസ്പോർ ബസിഡിയോമായിട്ട് അറ്റാച്ച് ചെയ്തേക്കുന്ന ചെറിയ തണ്ട് പോലത്തെ സ്ട്രക്ചറിനെയാണ് സ്റ്റെറിഗ്മ എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. 2 basidiospores are of the positive strain and the other 2 are of the negative strain. ഓക്കെ, 4 ബസിഡിയോസ്പോർ ഉണ്ടായതിനകത്ത് 2 പോസിറ്റീവ് സ്ട്രെയിൻ ഉള്ളതും മറ്റ് 2 എന്തായിരിക്കും? നെഗറ്റീവ് സ്ട്രെയിൻ ഉള്ളതും. ബസിഡിയോസ്പോർസ് ആർ ഡിറ്റാച്ച്ഡ് ഫ്രം ദി സ്റ്റെറിഗ്മാറ്റ ബൈ ദി എക്സ്പ്ലോസീവ് മെക്കാനിസം ആൻഡ് ദേ ആർ ക്യാരിഡ് അവേ ബൈ ദി വിൻഡ് ആൻഡ് ദേ ഫോം ദി ഹാപ്ലോയിഡ് ഫേസ്. Okay, now this basidiospores are incapable of infecting the wheat plant. ഇനി wheat plantil ഇത് വളരില്ല. They germinate only when they fall upon alternative host which is called the barberry plant. Okay, so you have understood. So Puccinia has completed its first half of its life cycle